What's up guys, Mike here, the Detroit Borg with a look at the Apple iPhone. So this retails for $499 or $599 in 4 or 8 gig versions. That's through a contract with AT&T, and this phone only works with AT&T. Now I actually picked up my iPhone from the Apple Store and I got the 8 gig version. Now the box itself is all black, and along the side you'll see the capacity option I chose along with these mirrored Apple logos at the top and bottom. Along the back you'll find some info about what's in the box and some of the specs. And on the front, you'll find the iPhone embossed in the surface, including the concaved home button. So lifting the lid, the first thing we see here is the iPhone resting in a clear plastic tray. The phone is pretty impressive. It's very sleek, all glass and aluminum, and it has this nice soft round feel to it, so it feels great in the hand. But before we take a close look at that, let's get to the accessories. So first up, we have some paperwork underneath the tray. So the packet itself does say designed by Apple in California, and inside we have some paperwork which includes fingertips, which explains the basics of using the iPhone OS. We also get some important product info along with a set of Apple stickers at a jaunty angle. We also get an iPhone branded microfiber cloth for cleaning that huge glass display. Next up, we get a bunch of accessories in the bottom of the box. That includes a fairly compact wall charger. This also allows you to remove the prong so you can swap out for extension cables or different international adapters. We also get a charging dock accessory. Although you don't need this allows you to prop up the phone on a desk very neatly, and you can connect an audio source to the back of it. Speaking of audio, we also get a set of earbuds, very similar to the ones you might find with an iPod, but this comes with an inline microphone for phone calls. And also like an iPod, we also get a USB charging cable with a 30-pin connector. So getting back to the phone itself, we really haven't seen anything quite like it. The display is all glass, multi-touch, and only has one button at the bottom. That is the home button. And as the name suggests, no matter where you are in the operating system, it returns you to where you started. It's a pretty simple idea, but a necessary one for something with so many features. Along the top, we get an earpiece, which could be a bit louder, but we also have a proximity sensor. This is an idea that's needed for this display. So when you're holding the phone to your ear, this actually turns off the display while you're on a call, so you don't accidentally hang up on somebody because your earlobe touched the screen. Along the top edge is a power button. Now you use this to turn it on, but you also use it to lock the screen. This is important with a touchscreen because when it's in your pocket, you might trigger something you don't want to. Also toward the top is a mini SIM tray. You'll see a little pinhole that allows you to eject the SIM tray with a paper clip. Now because this is locked to AT&T, a SIM is already included and you shouldn't have to replace this. We also get a recessed headphone jack, which means this only works with the included earbuds or you'll have to use an adapter. Along the left side are the volume controls, which are a bit flush, but there's a recession between them so you can tell the difference between up and down. And just above the volume rocker is a mute switch. Now this is somewhat similar to the lock switch on an iPod, but the function here is quite different. This will silence the phone speaker, but you still get a vibration to let you know when a call is coming in. In terms of the glass on the front, this is glass. It's not plastic, so it can shatter, but fortunately, this is a chemically treated glass called Corning Gorilla Glass. So it should be scratch and shatter resistant, but you still want to protect it when possible. The home button itself is made of plastic, which looks like the glass material, and it's really flush, so you don't have to worry about stuff getting between the glass and the edge of the button. In terms of the touchscreen technology, not only is it multi-touch, but it's also capacitive, meaning that it requires contact with your skin to work. So that's unlike a resistive touchscreen, which requires pressure of any kind. So that means no stylus is necessary. Your fingers work just as well. When it comes to this display, Apple calls this a widescreen iPod, and that's essentially what it is. It's quite big at 3.5 inches with a resolution of 320 by 480. That's really sharp. That gives you 165 pixels per inch. It's also an extremely bright and vivid display. It's very colorful and works great outdoors. Gives you a lot of screen real estate, especially for web browsing. Speaking of the web, one of the great things about this phone is that you get a full wireless internet experience. You can take it anywhere you go thanks to cellular data. Now this runs on the 2G or Edge networks. Now that's not as fast as the latest 3G network, so it would be nice if we had those speeds, but right now Edge is more mature than 3G. Another really clever feature of the iPhone is that we have an accelerometer, so it knows how the phone is being handled, and it knows when it's in portrait or landscape orientation and can reorientate the content for that orientation. Along the bottom edge, just below the home button, is the 30-pin dock connector. Again, very familiar to the iPod, so those iPod accessories should work with this phone. We also have the microphone and a loudspeaker. Now, the loudspeaker isn't as loud as my flip phone, so it would be nice if they could boost this a bit. So sometimes I can't hear my phone calls ringing in my pocket, but with the built-in vibration motor, I can actually feel calls when they're ringing in my pocket. Now, the design of this phone really pays a lot of attention to high-end materials. So it's surrounded in anodized aluminum, very similar to Apple's new high-end MacBook Pros. Although we don't get a backlit Apple logo like we do with the MacBook Pro, we do get a mirrored inset Apple logo, which can be used as a mirror for the rear-facing camera for those self-portraits. Speaking of portraits, we get a really impressive 2-megapixel fixed focus camera along the back. Although we don't get an LED flash and it doesn't record video, we get pretty solid images out of this camera. They're really high resolution, they look fantastic with good color reproduction, and if you have plenty of light, images look fantastic. But of course, low light performance is going to struggle with a camera this small. Now, because there are so many radios built into this phone, such as Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, and cellular, there is a black plastic trim piece along the bottom, which is radio transparent, which allows those things to work through this metal shell. As I said, this also has a GPS antenna, which means this can be used with navigation, and the onboard software does include that. Now, this phone is pretty much sealed up, so it's not meant to be taken apart by the user, so you can't swap out the battery. In terms of battery life, you should get about 8 hours of talk time, 250 hours of standby time, and roughly 24 hours of music playback. So because we have this huge backlit display, we're not going to get the battery life of a Nokia. Alrighty, so as you guys already know by now, this is the 10th anniversary of the original iPhone, and I thought I'd have a little fun by replicating the unboxing I would have done if I was doing YouTube videos back then. Now, of course, things have changed a lot since this phone came out, but this was one of the most influential gadgets to come out in my lifetime. Obviously, this design has influenced every iPhone we've seen and many of the competitors. So many of the things that this phone established, like the home button, the proximity sensor, the multi-touch screen, the glass and metal design, the camera along the back, the button layouts, and the overall form factor really hasn't changed that much in 10 years. It's just scaled up in size, increased in power and quality. Obviously, this iPhone has been upgraded to iOS 3.1.3. That's the latest version it can run. But when it first launched, it didn't have an app store. So the apps that were on the phone were all you got until Apple updated the software. The app store really wouldn't come until the second year, and that really changed things up. But unfortunately, this phone got really slow at iOS 3, so they cut off the updates pretty early. This was powered by a 412 MHz ARM11 CPU with the Power VR MBX GPU. That's fine for the iPhone OS it debuted with, but it was way too slow for everything that came after it. The funny thing about this design is that it really resembles modern iPhones more than the iPhones that replaced it. This only lasted 1 year and was replaced by a plastic design and later a glass design with the iPhone 4. And then with the iPhone 5 and 5S, we went for those angular chamfered edges with the aluminum and glass design, which I really liked, but we wouldn't return to this more rounded, softer feel until the iPhone 6. Now, there's a few things that might surprise you about the original iPhone. So, for example, you could not set a wallpaper for the home screen. There was no front-facing camera. The rear-facing camera did not have autofocusing, did not have an LED flash, and could not record video. The messaging app could not send photos or video. And in order to update the software or sync music and files to your phone, you had to do it through iTunes. Now, something you might have noticed about the original iPhone is that many of them are pretty beaten up. So it's pretty hard to find one in good condition that's been used. And that's because this phone arrived before the accessory business exploded. So a lot of these were just used without cases, so they got pretty trashed, including mine. So regrettably, I don't have a mint condition one to look at. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this quick look at the original iPhone. If you guys enjoyed this video, let me know with a like, and I'll see you again in my next video.